Hi everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 137 with Anna. What have you been reading? I read Do Nothing by Celeste Headley. The subtitle is How to Break Away from Overworking, Overdoing, and Underliving. It was recommended to me by my friend Elise, and I thought it was very worthwhile. And my big takeaway was that community good. Uh, it's an oversimplification, but I thought that it was a nice validation of a lot of things that matter to me, would making building community. Hi, Anna. Hi, Anna's dog.
Hi. There, I got you.
There you are.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good.
You did it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am so happy to be on this show with you because you're like Terry Gross. You're like you're like you pull things out of people that they didn't even realize that they thought or they felt. And
Hopefully in a very
yeah.
respectful way is always my intention, not to like
Oh
pull
yes.
things out of them that they're like, oh shit. You don't want someone to leave and be like, I don't know why I said that. So because that's
Yeah.
something I have had to figure out along the way too. Like,
Mhm.
I don't share everything all the time about everything, and I don't want to. But there are lots of
Mhm.
things I'm happy to talk about most of the
Mhm.
time. So, um, uh, what else? I speaking of
I didn't see the book.
random comments, there was a very enthusiastic comment about you and your poem on the Instagram, and I wondered if that was your son.
Is that like ham pizza, whatever? Yes.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Hmm.
17. He's a sweetie
Yeah,
pie.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really lovely.
Yeah, yeah. What are you reading right
I
now?
just read Do Nothing by Celeste Headley. Have you read this book or heard about this book?
Mm-mm,
A friend of mine,
mm-mm,
we often we suggest books to each other, and it's about how we're all doing too much, and why are we doing so much? Uh, and it
mm-mm,
was validating because really at the end, she was just like, community is what matter, friendships are what matter, the effect that
mm-mm,
we have on other people and their lives matter. Um, Work less, answer less emails. Um,
mm-mm.
and so I was good. And also like, don't, she was very against multitasking, which so many people are, but I found her conversation about it useful in a way that I hadn't found other ones, which is like, you're really not doing yourself any favors. You're not actually getting more done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm trying to be better
Yeah,
about that.
I can just do one thing at a time. Um, maybe, you know, uh, I had a stroke when I was
Yeah,
21.
I saw that in your
So
bio, in
maybe
one of your
that,
bios.
maybe that. But I can only
Yeah,
do one thing.
I think that's, I think we all can only really do one thing. That's the truth of it. So Shar is excited to hear your poem, as am I. So are you ready to
Hmm.
read it?
Yes, I want to show you what I'm
Oh, please
reading,
do.
and that is Morgan's book,
Oh,
Emptying the
that's
Nest.
so
Yes,
sweet.
because my son is going to go away to school pretty
Mhm.
soon, and um, I don't know. He's been you know,
Mhm.
a lot. So yeah.
I think it's a life change for sure. And
Mhm.
I think reframing it is too like, this is the beginning of something for us. It's
Mhm.
the ending of something, but it's also the beginning of something. And there's
Yeah.
beauty in that.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that he may be going to
Hmm.
community college because
Great
it's free in
choice.
California.
Mhm.
And he doesn't want to be in debt.
Yep.
So,
We have those conversations a lot. Like, what do
yeah.
you want to get out of this and how much? I mean, I don't know how much value really expensive universities have to any of us, particularly those who will make us be in debt.
Yeah. Well, I went to Mount Holyoke um, a long time ago, but I was poor, and so they gave me, pretty much a free ride.
Good for them. I
So, huh?
said, good for them. They got you.
Well, yeah, 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 yeah. But like, yeah, now we're solidly middle class. So,
Yes. Good for
so
you.
anyway,
It's harder and harder to be solidly middle class.
yes. Well, I don't know. It's yes, it is getting more difficult, and also in California, like making X amount of dollars doesn't really guarantee you middle class. We're, we're I don't okay. I'm gonna read my
Okay, read your
poem.
poem.
How about that? Um, so where I'm from, I am from dirty dish rags, from zestfully clean and Cheerios. I am from home after home after home, always moving, always leaving, always saying goodbye, and the trees that held me in their strong arms. I am from ping pong turtle eggs that we dug up in our neighbor's yard near the creek. I could feel the movement of life within. From 7 baby rabbits that we tried to save after the rototiller spat them up from the garden. I'm from evangelical church 3 times a week, from parents arguing bitterly all the way there and putting on smiles when they arrived. From Margaret, who had bipolar disorder for all of my growing up years, and David, a convert from Judaism to Christianity before we were born. I am from burying secrets so deep down that they bubble up in rage. From your father hid my birth control, and it's all your fault. I am from stepping forward at altar calls, asking us to recommit our lives to Jesus. I am from falling back under the shaking hallelujah hands of the preachers. I am from Gary, Indiana, a former steel town that was just getting to be the murder capital of the world. From a Slovak and a Russian Jew. I am from hidden naughty buddies and yellow lunch tickets. From the time 4 siblings were sent alone on a trail race bus from Chicago to Pittsburgh. How gritty the bus station, how hungry we were, how we survived, how I survived. Thank you.
Beautiful. And so full of powerful images. I am always struck by the ones of nature because those are what got me through too. And thinking of the trees that have held us and all the different things in nature that have held us.
Mm-hmm.
And with the turtle's eggs, could you touched them?
Yeah, I totally
And did it
did
affect
the
their
thing that I'm
ability
not
to
supposed to do.
hatch or no?
Oh no,
Okay.
it affected their ability.
Because I think it did with the bird's eggs. I'm like, is that real or is that something
Mm-hmm.
that we were told? So I would just like get really close, and try to and like just hold myself back from because there is just something so intoxicating to a child or maybe anyone, but definitely as a child, like just wanting to hold that egg. And
Well, we didn't know that they weren't ping pong
oh
balls.
wow,
So, so we were like, what is this?
really? And then you
Like
felt the
a
life
trophy
inside.
ping pong ball. Well, we saw we felt the
Oh my
life inside.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. How magical.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So what was the experience like for you writing this?
It was interesting. It was I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for anyone who does this because it brings up a lot of trauma, and a lot of, but also brings up a lot of joy. And so I thank you for that. Um, and there was so much other things that I could have put, and it's this this poem I wrote in like on the weekend, kind of just to get it all down, and then went back and went back.
And did you find yourself making choices, or were things just sort of choosing themselves? Like they had to be included?
Yeah, like the rabbits, the 7 baby rabbits was, yeah, that was a very kind of horrifying and strange experience, you know. I fed them B8 juice. Like I was like, I'm gonna save these these little baby rabbits, and I'm gonna feed them B8 juice because it has all the
That's right.
vegetables.
It's really good for you. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whatever it was, 7 vegetables or whatever. Oh no, 8. Duh, V8.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wonder if it's funny. I haven't really thought of this before, but I wonder if all children want to save little animals, because I also had. I mean, I did not have the horrifying experience of 7, but like that to me, that I viscerally felt that sort of, because I saw my dog get hit by a car, you know, which is a similar like their insides are exposed, like you become aware of mortality in a different way in that moment. And I tried to save so many birds, you know, and different creatures, and it did feel like important beyond the bird itself. It was like, I mean, I do think like metaphorically, it was me trying to save some part of myself, you know. I've just never really thought of it before this poem.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually did save a bird.
Congratulations.
Because
that's not easy.
Yes. Well, I gave it worms. I didn't give him beans.
Yeah.
And then like I threw the bird up, and it flew into the side of the house like 3 or 4 times, and then I tried the next day, and he kept on flying into the window, and then like after maybe a week,
wow,
yeah, he flew onto a branch, and then he flew away. I'm like,
amazing. That's a long time. I think the longest that I've had where it was successful, you know, was only like hours. And then, and I wonder if we would have stuck it out, if it would have, I mean, it was very much like, oh, this is not going to make it. You know, I mean, we were definitely a family of like, there was no space really for wounded things, you know, like wounded things, you know, it's like, okay, we give it a shot. It's not going to make it. I definitely didn't make it a week, Anna. So I applaud your perseverance. That must have been incredibly satisfying that you brought this thing back to life. This creature.
Well, I didn't bring the
well, they would have died if you hadn't done it. So, you know, give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah, they weren't going to make it. It would have been someone's dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, these 2 boys brought it to me after they had heard about, you know, my trying to save the rabbits. And they're like, can you do something with this bird? Because we accidentally rocked it off the tree.
Sure.
Accidentally like threw rocks at it.
Yeah. And they hit it. We didn't see that happening, and they hit the bird, which they didn't anticipate actually happening, right? Because usually you throw
Mm-hmm.
rocks and, I mean, I didn't throw rocks, but people threw rocks. And usually it's kind of like chasing a squirrel. You're not going to catch it.
Right, right, right.
Well, you had a
So,
reputation. What a lovely reputation to have.
yeah,
A,
yeah.
a savior.
Yes.
And you came through. I mean, they brought you the bird and you did it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you see
Yeah.
Char's comment? It's very sweet.
No, no.
The harsh woven with moments of a child's love for another suffering being so moving. I agree.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Char.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dog is whining outside.
It knows you're doing something. That's how it works. Like, hi, are
Yeah.
you distracted? Pay attention to me. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so that I thank you for writing about that because that's something I'm going to think about further. The
Mm.
desire to I think it's save but also be connected because I felt such an affinity with the natural world, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
felt like an even more profound connection, like that we were in like community with each other.
Mm.
These animals.
I don't know if you are Gen X.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we, uh, like a lot of Gen Xers were feral. They were like, I would go into the
Yeah.
library. I would read whatever book I wanted.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting as an evangelical. So you were not like policed in that way.
well, my parents didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and what they didn't know, I
Right.
didn't tell.
Right. But
So,
but you had enough
um,
freedom because I'm sure you've read the books and essays of people whose lives are so policed
yeah.
where they can't do anything.
Well, my mom has had, different. Um, she had various men in her life, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
And she had
it's
different ways of being. Is that what you're saying? Like sometimes she
yeah.
was more policing and less other
Mhm.
times? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not like I think that's sort of it's interesting how some people find this prompt challenging because they're like, well, I'm not from one place. I'm not from one marital relationship, one geographical place, one family unit, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I think that there's space for that. There certainly is for me. My family changed quite a bit in my childhood. And what I appreciated about it was it gave me an opportunity to make something of that.
Hmm.
Where for so many years I felt so othered by it. Like, oh, look at these families. They make logical
Hmm.
sense. And we don't make any
Hmm.
sense. And there was something empowering about, okay, well, it's my sense where I'm from.
Yeah. Yeah. My mother was married 4 times.
Wow, I'm
Um,
always a bit in awe of that. Um, Going back to the trough, like that you continue to marry. That you're not just like, this
yeah.
really isn't for me. It's just
Right. Right. But like a lot of there's evangelical Christianity there too, because she thought that if she
yep,
had,
yep,
sex with a
yep.
man, she had to marry him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So after her fourth, she was like, no.
So she did hit the wall.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at that point, she was, she was through.
Well, and I think what's interesting is with women of our parents' age, like for many, there was so little interrogation of the institution of marriage. It was just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the goal. You've made it, you're secure, whatever, when you get married. Meanwhile, lots of times marriage introduced way more variables and insecurity into their lives. But there was
Mm-hmm.
it didn't seem like there was a lot of space to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure when women got the right to hold their own checking
The
accounts.
70s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Probably around
like,
our young childhoods. Yeah.
yeah. So like after that, divorce
Hmm.
was like skyrocketing because people like could actually like women could actually hold uh
Hmm.
checking accounts separate from their
And credit
husbands.
cards. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I saw a statistic talking about how also suicide rates went down in that age
Mm,
cohort at that same
wow.
time because for obvious reasons. And,
Hmm.
and I mean, there's obviously so many things that are disturbing that are happening in this country with women in our bodies, but I do feel that's the one that really gets me. It's like this wanting to put us back in our uh, cages.
Place.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
these where we don't have autonomy, not just of our bodies, but of our whole selves and our lives.
Hmm.
And that's when America was great. Birth control also did a lot, Sonia. Yes, agreed. Sonia just said it then.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, the pill was a huge change, right? That a woman could be in charge
Yes.
of her own and abortion. Um, yeah. And having
Yeah.
children is the main reason that many women continue to live in poverty. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, I marched on both sides
did
actually.
you?
I have
Wow.
the because
Yeah.
when I was like
Yeah.
10, my dad went and
Mhm.
it was kind of framed as, hey, it's a trip to Washington. And by the way,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be marching. And I remember like Dan Quayle wouldn't come and talk to us
Yeah.
because we were like so out of like the mainstream opinion.
Oh, that's so interesting how things have changed.
Um, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So did
Hmm.
you, as your 10-year-old self, were you in or were you reading books at the library and sort of debating these things in yourself? Or were you just like surviving and in with whatever the belief system was?
Um, I was always, questioning. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, my parents say that that love and and commitment, and yet they're doing this other stuff on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And um, you know,
I think it's,
what
go ahead. No, you finish.
oh, like the repercussions. Like I'm always interested in like what are the repercussions of um the Dobbs decision, the Roe, Roe v. Wade. What did that do for women and not
Mm-hmm.
do?
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say about childhood and belief systems, that's something that interests me a lot because I think it's so challenging when you're a child. You just kind of accept, to some degree, you accept what you're raised in, even if you have inklings that it is different, which I certainly did. Like, oh, this is weird. My parents are divorced but live together. No one else's parents do that. Um, but I don't think I had a real understanding of like, it wasn't just that thing. Like as a child, it's like, oh, you kind of get hook onto something like that for me, but it's also
mm-hmm,
like this larger of like how we're seeing the world. And it took me I mean, decades to really start to think about how just the way I even experienced and saw the world was different
mm-hmm,
from my peers. And I am so grateful for reading. Like you bring up the library, like books and nature were my lifeline. Um, even
mm-hmm,
though I didn't see myself in books, I was reading Sweet Valley High, not really relating to it, but I still was like, oh, look at these people doing these things. Okay. And there was it wasn't really aspirational. It was just like, oh, there's all these different things out there. You know, life
mm-hmm.
is full of possibilities. And I think for me, believing that life was full of options was what kept me going. Because at least whatever weird thing was happening, that's an option, but there's
Mhm.
all these other ones. So I just got to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I was in seventh grade, I saw a um, an ad for an away school, like a boarding
Mm-hmm.
school that took on smart kids. Um, and so I bided my time
Yeah.
until like 10th grade. The school is for 11th and 12th graders. And I applied and I signed my parents' names because they wouldn't
Right.
have done that. And I got in. Um, and that was, I mean, basically it's why I'm not more um, messed up than I would have been otherwise. I don't know.
To put it poetically, messed up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's okay to say the word.
Oh,
I
it is.
don't
It's
know.
okay with me. I don't care. I
Okay.
think cursing is great and very
Okay.
expressive, personally.
Yeah.
And I did it from a very young age and had to like wean myself off of it when I realized, oh, polite society doesn't say this is fucked up. Um, but it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
It is.
yeah.
It is
And
fucked up.
it's a very like strong word. It is what it says it is. Like it's very, I don't know, it's satisfying. Um, so well, good for you. I love that story that you had an aspiration and you just like worked towards it and did it and didn't let your lack of your parents' signature get in your way.
God. I couldn't imagine my son doing that. Like I couldn't
No, but you have a completely
imagine.
different
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't commenting on his Instagram. You're a great poet, mom. Um, check out this poet Gasaway. She's great or something. It was
Yeah.
adorable. Um, so, well, any other thoughts
Yeah.
before we wrap up? Because we are.
Um, well, I just I'm thinking of doing a
I think you,
memoir,
you should. I mean,
but
you
I
sound
don't know
like you
what it
have a
should be
lot of
about.
really. I think. I mean, I would love to hear so many of these stories you've shared expanded. Like, I want to hear more
Mhm.
about the turtle eggs. I want to hear more about you going to the library and deciding you're going to apply to a school for smart kids, which I love because when you're in seventh grade, that is what it is, a school for smart kids. Like, you're not thinking beyond that thing. Um,
Mhm.
I just, I think that, I mean, that's like my thesis now on life, and it's what my memoir's about, certainly. I think the more space we give to our young selves, the better off we are because they're there knocking at the door. Whether
Mhm.
we pay attention to them or not is our choice, but they're not going anywhere. And
Yeah. That's why I like before I was watching Annie
mm-hmm.
Finch's thing with you and
Yeah, we talked about
I
that.
was
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. And so I set up a therapy session for myself.
Yeah.
So you're good. Doing good work out there,
Oh, I
Allison.
agree, Shar. I think her poems are the foundation of her memoir. I agree. Um,
Thank you.
and I mean, it was funny that Annie was like, "Oh, so you do this therapy too?" I was like, "Yes, I do." Funny you should mention it. And just so the therapy, for those of you who haven't watched the Annie Finch conversation, is Parts Therapy, which is the book No Bad Parts is about it. If you're interested, you can check it out. I'd recommend doing the exercises with a trained professional, at least if you've been through a lot of traumatic experiences. It was too much for me to do alone, but with my therapist, it's been very powerful. And I've connected with these like versions of myself or these selves, and um, it's been amazing. And my other friends who've done it and we talk about it, there's something. I'm I'm guessing when you do it, you will be like, God, I was pretty great. Like, there's just something about seeing your young self, like, what a brave, tough, just relentless person I was,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that I've given myself enough credit. So it's helped me have
Yeah.
self compassion, which is a great, great gift.
Hmm. Yeah. Everyone can use a little bit more of
I
that.
think so, except for you narcissists. You, I don't know what to do with you. You go do your own thing. Sonia just said memoir and therapy go hand in hand. I would agree. I would not advise writing a memoir without a therapist, personally, because it's really nice to have a person there who's listening, but also validating, like, this happened. I,
Mm-hmm.
I need that. I have needed that.
Right.
So I am grateful to have someone who can frame things for me, who has
Yes.
no skin in the game.
Right. Sorry,
That's
the
okay. The
dog.
dog knows we're wrapping up. So
Right.
the dog's like,
All
okay.
right. Well, thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Allison. This has been a pleasure, and I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your poem. And thank you to everyone who joined us and your lovely comments. It's so sweet. I feel like we're in conversation. Okay.
All
See you
right.
soon. Bye.